A light frost covered the lawn, though it was only early autumn. I felt a chill in my bones when I stepped from the back porch. The ground would be difficult to shovel today. Whoa, that took a turn. So that's what happens when you read too many mystery novels. Let's try again, a little less intense this time. A bluebird hopped across the grass. He pulled a worm from the dirt. Okay, now it sounds too simple, not exactly meaningful. So where does that leave us? Whether you're starting a junk journal, a smash book, or a travel diary, the pressure to come up with something worthwhile and well thought out is real, especially when staring down at that first blank page. But it doesn't need to be a monumental task. The best part about making a junk journal is the fact that there are no rules. There is no right or wrong way to journal. The book that sits before you is yours and yours alone, and you get to decide what goes in it. That being said, well, we've all heard of decision fatigue. So what if we take it down a notch? Starting small will give you the confidence you need to branch out when you're ready. So let's go over 12 stress-free journal ideas. Number 10 is my favorite, but I do hope you'll get value out of all of them. Number 1, I like to call this On This Day. So what if we start with something as basic as the date? On June 3rd, I spent the day in Joshua Tree where the temperature was a hot 97 degrees, and the approximate coordinates of the park are written here on the side, the latitude and longitude. So I know it isn't mind-blowing, but it is enough to remind me of a specific time in my life without me having to come up with anything creative to write. Or document a walk, a hike, or a bike ride that you enjoyed. On March 13th, I went to Salmon Creek and did 2.5 miles. Simple as that. This can also work with an anniversary like I have here. Or how about adopting a new puppy, or maybe there's a new baby in your family. Start with the birthday or the adoption date and just go from there. Number 2, song lyrics. In this example, I have sheet music for my background, and the only text on the page is You Belong Among the Wildflowers by Tom Petty. Beautiful song, by the way. And this page reminds me of a Tom Petty concert that I attended at the Gorge many years ago. Number 3, inspirational quotes. This is quite possibly the easiest one, I think. So here I have 2 inspirational quotes along with a watercolor painting. And here's another example. Always take the scenic route. Number 4, excerpts from a book. So this is a line from The Lincoln Highway, one of my favorite books. For kindness begins where necessity ends. Number 5, poetry. I've written a segment of The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. This is actually one of my favorite pages. Number 6, favorite movie or sitcom quotes. So on this one I have, messy is fun, okay? My life is a giant mess and I love it. And that's Andy from Parks and Rec, which is a show that my kids and I like to watch sometimes. On to number 7, I'm going to refer to this next category as facts and information. So we have this enormous raccoon who likes to hang out in our backyard some evenings. So I just did a quick sketch and then looked up some facts about raccoons. Another example, I visited some family in Vermont a while ago, but instead of writing specifics about the trip, I just wrote down a few facts about the state. So do you notice how I'm relating each page to my own life without actually having to come up with anything meaningful or personal to write? And yet, as I flip through this book, I'm flooded with memories from my own past. Now, as you get more comfortable with journaling, I'm sure you'll start adding more details pertaining to your own personal experiences, but this is a really good place to start. The training wheels of journaling. Number 8, recipes. This is a fun one. I'm sure you have a list of favorite recipes that you love to make, or maybe a family recipe that you break out once a year around the holidays. Number 9, second language. It's funny, but translating a word or a phrase into a language that isn't your first language can put a whole new spin on it. Suddenly it feels more important and perhaps more mysterious than simply writing it in English or whatever your first language happens to be. Number 10, definitions. This is the one I mentioned earlier as one of my favorite journal prompts. Is there a single word that describes how you're feeling today? Good or bad, this can be a therapeutic way to work through your emotions without getting too deep and personal. You might not be ready to express yourself, especially if you're going through a challenging time in your life, but writing out the definition of what you're feeling inside may be more helpful than you realize. Number 11, things to remember. This sort of goes along with facts and information, but it's more about what you personally want to remember, not necessarily existing facts. So an example would be my snake plant here. I have quite a few plants in my house and they all require different amounts of water, sunlight, and plant food. So making this page was a fun way for me to drill this info into my head. Number 12, tasks and goals. Here I've written out some daily tasks, just little lists of things that I like to do every day, but maybe you have a goal you're trying to reach. It can be as specific as training for a marathon, or reaching monetization on YouTube, or as vague as decluttering your home or eating better. I do have one bonus tip, and that tip is nothing at all. You don't have to write anything if you don't feel like it. Just because it's called a journal, that doesn't mean you can't just piece together a collection of scraps, stamps, and pictures, and just get those creative juices flowing. Journaling is whatever you want it to be, whatever you need it to be at this point in your life. So don't stress. Journaling should be therapeutic, not anxiety-inducing. This is your book, no one else's. Relax, don't worry about the outcome, and enjoy the process. If you like art, painting, and paper crafting, I hope you'll watch my channel's intro video and consider subscribing if you feel like it's a good fit. Thank you so much for watching.